say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Welcome to Brainstorm.
We have the explicit tag for a reason.
This is a base level argument to a higher level of morality.
I get paid to science?
To science as much as one can science.
What the hell was my point?
Trigger warning. The Brainstorm podcast will criticize your most cherished beliefs. We attack nonsense in all its forms and discuss difficult subjects. If you peddle pseudoscience, supernatural woo, or religious dogma, then this is not your safe place. This is the home of hardcore skepticism.
To those listening live or to our patrons, welcome back. For those listening weekly, welcome to the Shift to Reason Radio, the Brainstorm production that tries to educate and inform. We'll take current events and important skeptical topics and try to analyze them critically. Remember, we're live on Spreaker.com every second Friday, and today is September 29th, 2017. I'm still joined by Destin.
Hey.
Renee.
Hello.
Angela.
Hello.
Basit.
What's up?
And our guest host, Idella.
Hi.
And the always amazing Dave doing sound.
Yeah.
All right. So we may as well jump right into some religious nuttery.
Yes, please.
Cornerstone, this might be new to some of you. Scripture says that even our righteous deeds are as filthy rags to God. So even the good things that you do, even things like feeding the hungry and clothing the poor and taking in widows and orphans, as nice as those things are, if not done from the place of obedience to and a relationship with God, are completely worthless and disgusting to God. If you're not daily walking in a place of relationship to God, then the news that we have to bring you is that you're on your way to hell right now.
I've heard that guy.
Yeah.
What a dick.
What a dick. Yeah.
Oh, I hate that guy.
We pulled that from the Christ Core documentary on the hardcore Christian hardcore scene.
What's his name?
I cannot remember.
I've definitely heard him. I've heard that line before.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Gumby. What do you got for us?
All right. So the irrationality of AA.
Oh, geez. You're going to attack Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, I've always wanted to attack AA.
Enlighten us.
Well, first off, it's a 12-step program, if everybody is not familiar with it. It's actually based around belief. And it's been debunked countless times by different groups, by doctors. The article that Corey's going to post up is called The Irrationality of AA. It's basically a story about a guy named JG. He's a lawyer in his early 30s. He started drinking when he was 15 years old. And favored gin and whiskey, and then started drinking beer and whatever he can get.
Okay.
And he used alcohol as a way to cope with a very active mind. Like, it's the only thing that can calm him down.
Interesting.
And during college, his drinking increased. Once he started practicing as an attorney, he was drinking over a liter of Jameson in a day.
But he managed to get his law degree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That was after he got his degree. While he was practicing every day, he was drinking a liter of Jameson, which is whiskey.
Right.
For people that don't know. He started in 2012 to get help. He lived in Minnesota, the land of 10,000 rehabs, is what people call it. And what he found out is, like, he tried to dedicate himself to the program, but as an atheist, he was really put off by the faith-based approach of it. 5 of the different steps actually mention God.
Right.
And everybody warned him that he had a chronic progressive disease, which he didn't believe. He just thought that he drank too much.
Right.
And that's the message, that there are no small missteps, that one drink might as well be 100. Like, it's all about the wagon, right? As soon as you fall off the wagon, you're done. And that you have to be cold turkey forever.
Yeah.
So this thing is 27 pages long. There's a ton of stuff in here. I really recommend reading it. But basically what it breaks down to is that AA claims a 75% success rate.
Right.
Which can't be proven because it's anonymous.
Right.
And it's not centralized. There's when it first came out, there's an off-cited study from 1996 founded as a form of individual therapy that aims to get the patients to attend AA meetings as effective as cognitive behavior therapy and motivational interviewing. So that's all it is, right? There's no actual therapy involved in AA. There's nothing that's actually beneficial to somebody that's trying to quit.
Just quit, and we have this person that'll kind of try to help you.
The AA truisms have so infiltrated our culture that many people believe heavy drinkers cannot recover from before they hit bottom. It's like they say it's akin to offering antidepressants only to people who have attempted suicide, or prescribing insulin only after a patient has lapsed into a diabetic coma. Right, and fully 12% of people that are in the program are doing it because of DUIs, and they're being forced to do it by judges. And that's not to demonize AA. AA has helped millions of people, but it's a bullshit religious-based indoctrination thing that is more harmful, does more harm than good. And it's not just AA, it's there's two facets to AA. There's Alcoholics Anonymous,
right,
and then there's the support group for AA. And it's just as bad. You go to meetings, the exact same. And it's for like the wives or the husbands or the kids of people that are alcoholics. And it's just as harmful.
I once knew a person who had a parent in AA, and they went to Al-Anon. I think that's the family one, Al-Anon, and they expressed some things that they had learned there, like that if they ever drank, then they would be an alcoholic automatically. Mm-hmm. And that always struck me as incredibly nonsensical. Like, of course, a person who has never had a drink in their whole life doesn't automatically become an alcoholic because they have a drink.
That's right.
And, I mean, it seemed like that was a pretty harmful message from my perspective at the time.
Yeah, I think that's harmful, especially to young people, because that makes them want to rebel and go the opposite way.
Well, and what this guy did is he yo-yoed because he'd fall off the bandwagon and have one drink because he couldn't sleep because he was constantly anxious.
Right.
Like, just his anxiety was ridiculous. So he'd have one drink and then he's like, "Well, I'm fucked.
Yeah,
I've fallen off the wagon. I might as well just get hammered for as much as I can." And then he'd get drunk for 3 weeks and go back on and off. Right?
Yeah.
I know lots of people that used to be alcoholics, or people like me that tried to become one.
Right.
And it's not a disease. Everybody says it's a disease. It's not. It's just an addiction. And you can get over an addiction. It's shitty. It's hard. It's really tough. And it's easy to relapse, but there's people that have quit being alcoholics that can still go and drink.
Are there not, like, as time has progressed, are there not more evidence-based type programs that can help people?
There are quite a few others. There's tons of other programs.
They're now theorizing that giving an alcoholic small amounts of alcohol is one of the better ways to help with their addiction.
Yeah,
because like every hour or every like few hours, come in, I'll give you 12 ounces of beer and then go on your way. That's something that they're working on figuring out if that's more effective.
Right. It's kind of in progress type.
Yeah, because and I listened to a program recently where they're trying to use the model of Alcoholics Anonymous on food addiction. Now the
on food addiction.
OA.
The Overeaters Anonymous is a thing, but there's also people like there's an inpatient treatment program where you go and you're, having you're in the same place as people that are addicted to heroin or alcohol, and you're just, you ate 40 chocolate bars yesterday. So it's
interesting.
That concerns me.
The only similarity is like impulse control is kind of similar.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
The thing about AA is it was founded in 1935 when we knew nothing about brain chemistry or addiction, and none of the tenets have changed.
Right.
Because there's no difference in the validity of AA as compared to fucking acupuncture or chiropractic. It's the same. It's all woo.
I don't know. I find it funny because I was just as opposed to this article, I just finished listening to the Dave Mustaine of Megadeth autobiography.
Oh yeah,
and that's a man that's been through rehab 17 times.
Right. I think he's got a couple named after him. Actually,
he's probably paid enough to buy at least one. But it's a weird thing, like the way he described going to these different addictions, because like there's a point where he just knew the routine where he's just like, oh, you're sending me off to rehab? Well, let's go get really fucked up before we go in and dry out, And but the weird pattern with it is that with the addiction is a lot of them just substitute a different addiction. I know in the case of Dave Mustaine, he's now become this, fairly born again Christian. And as I found out in the book, a part of that is because his wife was apparently quite the.
Oh, it's all right.
And it's kind of in a way, good for him. It's worked for him. He's now clean, where he used to just do mountains of shit. But Alice Cooper is the same way. Like, he used to be a raging alcoholic, and he substituted golf.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now he's got a handicap that some pro golfers would be jealous of, but they're just substituting one obsession for another. I don't know if that's any healthier.
Yeah, right.
Well, golf is probably healthier than Coke.
I guess, yeah.
Slightly.
Not for the environment.
Yeah. So what did you do today? Well, I did 26 rounds of golf. Well, I guess it's better than 26 lines of Coke. But
yeah.
I'm curious what Dave thinks.
About what specifically, though?
Oh, well, about AA.
Well, I know I've talked about it on the show before.
Yeah.
Because I've worked in the field. I was in AA for many years, so I know the routine. One thing I do want to mention about the disease model, I think it is starting to become obsolete within the addictions world slowly, but I do think the initial intention of it was fine. Initially what they're trying to do is give it more of a medical condition kind of vibe, because I think before it's to reduce the stigma that people had for alcoholism.
So it wasn't blaming the individual.
Exactly. That was the initial intent of that idea, that they wanted to treat it like a disease, where it was something that it needed to be treated. It wasn't like you were a terrible human being. So I mean, I do like that part of it. It's not accurate in terms of what it's saying, but and I mean, we're past that now. I mean, we're at the point now where being an alcoholic is a very mainstream term, and it's like if you say to somebody, "Hey, yeah, no, I'm going to AA now," they don't go like, "Oh, you're fucking terrible." Right. Usually people give you a pat on the back and say, "Oh, good for you," right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that mentality has changed within society. Like we're more willing to give those kinds of options to people for help, which I like. But now what's happening is, I mean, harm reduction is becoming a method that we're starting to understand more.
Right.
And there's a lot of harm reduction initiatives. Vancouver, like BC in general, is kind of the leader in that, I find, in Canada.
Yeah.
When I was there, I actually got to talk to a lot of people involved in that stuff when I was there last time. And talking about these harm reduction alcohol residences, that's something that actually does exist, where where they have a residence for people who are maybe they're extremely at risk for homelessness and all kinds of things. And one of the biggest things is that for a long time we've attached social services to sobriety. So for instance, you want to have a place to live, you need to be sober.
That's that still goes on quite a bit.
Well, not as much.
Okay.
It's actually happening less and less. So, I mean, their philosophy in these kinds of places is that people would come and they would have an actual dosage of alcohol they were allowed to have. And, they had to come to the place to do that. And then they could, like they were allowed a certain amount. Mm-hmm. And what they find is that those people are actually more willing to stick around the shelter or not the shelter, I guess it's the residence.
Okay.
And actually continue in residence programming and other things with that incentive. So some effectiveness there. I think it's still very premature in some ways. Like there's still a lot to learn. But yeah, no, actually our general approach now to housing in Canada is way better than it ever was. We don't, housing first is the most is the big movement right now, which isn't perfect, but ultimately now our philosophy is you give shelter first.
Okay.
With no attachment. You don't have to attend this programming. You don't have to do this thing. You don't have to do that thing. You are entitled to shelter. You're entitled to a place to live. And then you get them in that place to live, and then you start helping them work on things. So like the, what do they call it? The hierarchy of needs kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of the philosophy that is actually prevailing now in North America, not even just Canada. It came from the States. So having said that, there is some progress, is what I'm saying. I think we're viewing the issue as different. It's not so much about a disease as much as it is about, okay, well, there's obviously like a mental health issue or there's something going on, and we need to start from the bottom up. Like we need to start rebuilding your life, giving you like health too, right? Like come to a safe injection site. We'll have nurses there. We'll make sure it's safe. We'll make sure you don't overdose. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, then you try to find the root of situations like socioeconomical things.
Yeah. And the reality is some of these people will never get out of that situation. I mean, the reality is that they might be addicted to heroin the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. But at the very least, we can give them some quality of life.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can also, if you want to speak from conservative economic terms, and they actually will buy into this, at the same time, you're saving money because you're taking money away from law enforcement, your money away from like hospitals, things like that. And we have that right here in our own province. In Regina, they're really leading the way and starting to do some of that. Where
improved incarceration rates.
Yes.
Well, Medicine Hat did it first.
Well, that mayor is a little bit out to lunch sometimes. But anyway, I met him and spoke to him.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
No, but at least they did it.
Well,
right?
yeah, they've adopted housing first. Yeah. So. But, their problem is much different than like Toronto or Montreal or something like that. But anyways, so those are some of my thoughts. I mean, I'm not completely against the idea of people getting together and having like a common purpose. I think that part can be beneficial for some.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of them claiming some of the things they do, like it's way out there.
Well, and people I know that have gone through the program that have family, They go through the program, and everybody that they've hurt in their family, they're like, well, it wasn't in my control. So, and that's their past. They just have a past, and they're supposed to apologize and seek forgiveness. But a lot of them get addicted to meeting. They get addicted to the program.
Yeah. Which, tit for tat.
Yeah.
I'd probably prefer they're addicted to the program, but...
Not if it's not solving problems at home, though.
Well, and that's a different story, right? And that's where there's a lot more, like, underlying work to do.
And AA does nothing to help with that stuff, really.
It claims to, but, yeah, it's not great at it. No.
I wanted to mention there's a book about this exact topic called The Biology of Desire by Mark Lewis. Why addiction is not a disease. It's something that I've had on my to-read list for a long time.
Interesting.
And it just talks, he's a neuroscientist who explains why the disease model of addiction is wrong and illuminates the path to recovery. So, I mean, it would be an interesting thing to look into.
I think we could ask Steve Novella if we have him on the show again.
Oh, yeah.
I might have all of next year already figured out.
Okay.
Wow.
All of next year.
Maybe.
Really?
Well, we only have every second week, right? So
it's only 26.
Yeah.
Bi-weekly.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
Wow.
Finance
work.
people.
That's impressive, Corey.
Well, we'll see how it goes. But all right. Any final thoughts, Gumby?
I usually don't have any thoughts.
Okay, sounds good.
You had lots.
Nicely done.
Angela, what do you got for us?
So my story this week was a journalist said, I'm no longer an atheist because I'm not a negative person.
Oh yeah.
My God.
Because we're all just the worst.
We're fucking terrible.
Actually,
we're pessimists.
Well, most atheists
We're all
are.
gonna
Some
die.
atheists are the worst.
The loudest ones are.
So a woman by the name of Sally Quinn, she's a longtime journalist and
Oh,
author.
fuck Sally Quinn.
I don't want to. I don't want to. So
Decline.
she is a founding editor of a site called On Faith. It's a site full of religious opinions, essays, and it used to be hosted at the Washington Post.
Who's her husband?
Her husband is Ben Bradley.
Didn't he have something to
He
do with
spearheaded
Watergate?
Watergate. Yeah. So she basically, the reason she's in the media is she wrote a book called Finding Magic, a spiritual memoir.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Ooh la la.
Yes.
You're nuts.
Yes. So she had a
She found the magic.
yeah. So she's
Jade
got a
egg.
history of insulting atheists. She painted all atheists with the same nasty hater color of paint. She was on Morning Joe on September 18th. In the video, I don't know if any of you watched it, but it was interesting. They didn't talk much about her book. So her fellow founding editor of the On Faith website, John Meacham, apparently led her away from atheism because he insulted atheists.
Oh, I see.
He said atheism is a negative word, and he gave her a long list of books to read. And she basically says that angry atheist doesn't make sense. You still have to believe in God to be angry at him.
She doesn't understand what angry atheists are angry about then.
Yeah, exactly. So her story, like she was an atheist for quite a long time. She became an atheist because her father told her about his World War II experience. And she basically at a young age found his, I think of some photographs or something. And he honestly told her about the horrors of war. And, that basically was like, well, if God's going to let something like this happen, she's like, fuck that shit.
So she was smarter as a kid than she is now?
Yes.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And now she believes that all religion is magic. Whatever you believe has to be taken on faith.
Right.
And you have to believe it to see it.
Why not?
She goes on to say she's not necessarily a Christian. She's a transcendentalist. She believes in magic and miracles. She believes in magic and miracles, and she believes in quote unquote divine and finding meaning in life and taking care of people. And she said exactly in the video, she's cherry picked different things from different religions. She read all of these books and she was like, I like that. I like that. I like that.
So like any religion.
Yeah.
The funny thing is you can do that as an atheist and not believe in God.
Totally. And it's funny because I found some things. Like she said, love is the only way toward happiness. And taking care of people is one of the most important things for her in life. And I was like, that's weird. That's how I feel. Like taking care of the people I love. That's how I feel.
That's interesting, but you're an atheist, so that can't be true.
It can't be true because I'm super negative.
Well, because atheists want to argue with everyone.
That's right.
And, well, she's just...
Well, some of us, but not everybody.
It depends on the day.
As you're arguing with me.
You're wrong.
Well, I said some of us.
Yeah.
That includes me.
Sometimes I'm all fired up and ready to fight, but not every day. Sometimes I just want a hug and a bag of chips. That's it.
I have a question. So, in a way, can we say she has a point? And a while ago, Corey had posted something. Maybe it was even last week. I can't remember. Basically, it's like how conspiracy theorists have to believe in a conspiracy because they cannot accept the truth, and it's that people are awful. So in this case,
That sounds like something I'd post.
Yeah. And in this case, you know, when her dad was telling her about the World War stories, and she decided to become atheist because the truth is, war is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we all agree on that. Mm-hmm. So that being said here, we're people who want to seek evidence, want to seek the truth. And with that comes a lot of questioning, and the truth is not very pretty. You know, we have to...
Not always, no.
No. And for me, in my experience, most of the time, truth is ugly. Like, it's scary. So, you know, you go from the idea of thinking you're going to go to heaven to, avoiding hell, to the idea of, like, now you're simply going to die and nothing's going to happen, to the idea of accepting, hey, that's okay, and, more preferable than hell, personally speaking. So when we go ahead and argue to tell someone that, we're seeking the truth and we're telling them the truth not pretty versus the fantasy fairyland they've built from themselves, are we not always going to be perceived as negative?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
every single time.
Yeah. In a way, like, for example, atheism for me and the concept of love and there being the perfect one out there for you, of course, being an atheist, I don't believe in that at all. Mm-hmm. I think you can be compatible with many different people, blah, 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 blah.
Maths.
Thank you.
So Gumby is showing me that John Meacham is a very well-known journalist.
He's actually he's the executive editor and executive vice president at Random House, contributing editor at Time Magazine, former editor and chief of Newsweek.
He's a Christian.
And he's a super Christian.
So that's why some things might have a slant in that direction.
Or maybe that's how somebody got a book published.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I
knew that name sounded familiar.
So
that's right.
When it comes to negativity, would you say it's just a matter of perspective? Because we don't think we're negative by finding the truth.
Well,
speak for yourself.
We're in our own little echo chamber in here. Yeah. Like, I mean, I had a debate, shall we say, at work one day where, kind of came out that non-believer, and one guy, he's a pseudo-Christian, shall we say. He's like, I think it's I think it's sad when you don't believe in something. And I'm like, well, fuck, why? Why do you need to believe in?
Yeah, why does that need to make you happy?
I don't feel sad.
A non-position isn't a negative position.
Exactly.
And I was ready to go with, like, I mean, if you want to have that fight, we could have that fight.
That's right.
It was the most silent I've ever seen that guy for about an hour and a half. It was actually kind of pleasant because usually he's running his mouth off. But but that's where that perception is because there's that idea that, well, you don't have to be a Christian, but you have to believe in something. Well, fine, the Easter Bunny. Fuck off.
Yeah. Well, I think there is the perception that we're negative because we try not to abide bullshit. And I think when you're indoctrinated in one way or the other, whether it's organized religion or conspiracy theories, you have that cozy blanket of bullshit. Mm-hmm. And atheists, skeptics, whatever, they are often thought of negatively because it's like, you do realize there's no tooth fairy.
Well, we refuse to cherry pick. We just accept what is.
As much as possible. I mean, and granted, I'm learning that the atheist community...
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. There's so many people in that group that...
Mm-hmm. The one constant is people are assholes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, people seem to have this belief that just because it might make them feel good, that means it can be true. Like, that's synonymous with truth, which isn't false. Like, you can feel good praying, you can feel good singing a hymn, but that doesn't mean it's doing anything.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that's how we get perceived as negative, by taking that away from them or whatever, which we're not really trying to do. But
well, people have always been told to go seek their own personal truth, which there's no such thing.
Yeah.
There's truth and not truth.
Yeah.
But if it's true for me, then it must be true.
I said thoughts and prayers.
That's right.
Why isn't Puerto
alternate
Rico
truths.
all better?
Yeah.
There were so many thoughts and prayer.
Why won't you take my thoughts and prayers?
Just pray for us. Don't send us money.
No, wait. That's not... Wrong way.
Wait,
Definitely
what?
Send us
what?
money and we'll pray for you. That's
Yes.
Just send money.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
bother with the prayers.
That's how
we
it
got the
goes.
prayers covered.
All right, let's go to a
Prayers
quick,
are not guaranteed.
quick ad break, and then we'll come back for some Woo Report.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/Brainstorm Podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/Brainstorm Podcast Gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of Clothing, atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
Use the code BRAINSTORM at absenceofclothing.com and get 10% off. The Hardcore Skeptic Examines is a bi-monthly documentary-style podcast that includes interviews, research, and commentary from your host, Corey Johnston. That's me. As the host of the Brainstorm podcast, I've spent the last 3+ years trying to spread critical thinking and skepticism while having fun. This project is intended to look at some of those same topics covered by Brainstorm, but a bit deeper. With the long intervals between episodes and the long format, I'm hoping to provide good information that educates as well as entertains. Check out my Patreon for more details at www.patreon.com/hardcoreskeptic or follow my Twitter at hardcoreskeptic.
My name is Jonathan Ariola of TDTF Pod. The more voices you hear, the more we observe and feel, the more we learn about the other facets of this complex and wondrous beast that is humanism and free thought. Join me on the science-loving journey through topics like justice, murder, family, diligence, taste, history, society, race, boob jobs, law, addiction, video games, fear, sacrifice, children. Wait, not sacrificing children, that's not what I meant. Bring the popcorn and watch me break down the issues too deep, too fast. Join me at TDTF Pod. I'm Jonathan Ariola. Talk to you soon.
We're back. How
We were
long
ready.
have we been back?
We're here.
Wait, what?
Don't leave. Please don't leave.
Shit. All right, we're
professionals.
We're gonna do a Woo Report. Woo.
I'm not a scientist, but if I can tell you your science sucks, your science really sucks.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck.
All right, Basit, what do you got?
So we had a really interesting article, as it is common amongst this show here. So when it comes to anti-vaxxers, climate change deniers, chemtrails, conspiracy theorists, it seems like despite the evidence shown, there seems to be a common denial and a common skepticism amongst youths here. So essentially 4 out of 10 Canadians go ahead and deny that the evidence given right away. And a lot of people would initially go ahead, especially if skeptics will go ahead and see this as a huge problem.
Right.
But we can go ahead and see it in another light as we're skeptics ourselves. We can go ahead and be skeptical of sources. We can go ahead and find out flaws within the research studies. We can go ahead and see if there's any other supporting evidence, controversial evidence, and at a point here, a lot of people, there is a trend of denying climate change, but the articles did mention a point that amongst those 4 in 10 Canadians, 8 out of 10 of those Canadians are willing to go ahead and look at the perspectives of the scientists. So that goes and gives us a bigger picture in that we don't necessarily, science doesn't want you to have faith. And now I'm strictly defining faith in the sense of that you do not need to have evidence.
Right.
A lot of people may argue that faith and blind faith are 2 different things. For me, they're the same thing. And the definition of faith is the absence of facts.
Right.
So when the facts are presented, then you have just the entire truth there. So the articles, I believe the fundamental point of it was that if we, in a way, we could see it as a good thing, that 4 of these 10 Canadians are generally not using faith anymore. And just going ahead and being a skeptic on whether or not they should accept if there is really climate change or not. Now, that being said, climate change is fact. I just want to point that out. Vaccines work here. But it's okay to be skeptical of it if the conclusion you're reaching is what majority of scientists have already brought out there, which is that there is a crisis amongst headed our way.
Okay.
What I find disturbing about that, the 4 in 10 is expected. The fact that 80% of those people are willing to look at evidence, that sounds like a good thing.
Right.
If you take 80% of 4, you're left with 1, roughly. So roughly 10% of Canadians are intentionally remaining ignorant
about the science.
About science. 10% of people refuse science.
Maybe you are negative.
No, that's just the maths.
The article did talk about that.
You're negative.
And the scientists did bring it up that media has a huge negative portrayal on scientists.
Right.
That scientists are money hungry, cash grabs, and as most of I'm assuming you've talked to most scientists, they really want that money too. But truth be told, there is such a trend of a negative portrayal, and then we have to ask yourself, where does the problem lie? Is media to be blamed, or is the demand for controversial topics that comes from the people to be blamed?
Right.
Where do we find the entertainment in reading an article that we already agree with? It's like nobody's going to deny all these scientists. The articles that are going to go ahead and provide the views, make the establishment carry on their business would be the viewership of the ones that goes against the popular opinion. And let's be honest here. We love debating against people who deny climate change, and that's sometimes those are the most fueling. Those are the best thing. But we're not necessarily going to go ahead and necessarily talk about climate change over and over again when scientists have to keep providing proof of it, right? So when it comes to media, the question becomes, at what point do we start, pointing the fingers to ourselves rather than just CNN, Fox, etc.?
Well, the problem, when I think media, I'm not thinking CNN and Fox. I think we need to deplatform people like Dr. Oz.
Oh,
that would be nice. It would be nice if he just disappeared, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
The doctors.
Fucking the doctors, Oprah, fucking The View.
Yeah, Dr. Phil's a meme now. He's a hilarious meme.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is with all those shows is that they're entertainment masking as information.
Right.
Yeah.
If it was just the fact that, it's just entertainment, then that's fine, but...
At work, we have a TV in the lounge, and people flip off the news to watch Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
I'm like,
sometimes the news is really shitty.
Sure.
That's the truth.
And it's not always honest, and it's not always true. right? Because it depends on the source. But if you're flipping from fucking BBC,
because BBC is factual and boring, to this where it's like, eat turmeric with this yogurt and it'll cure everything that ails you.
Damn right.
Oh man, turmeric and yogurt. Oh.
People are fucking drinking turmeric lattes.
No insult. Turmeric's awesome, but
Yeah, I love turmeric.
not just mixed into yogurt.
No, I even agree. So I have a question. Like, you being at the University of Regina, I've left U of R 4 years ago. What are students' perspectives when it comes to vaccines and climate change? Because when I was in university, people love denying that stuff, saying the government, and I was one of them too, a huge conspiracy theorist. And then you hit adult life and realize, oh my God, what wasted years.
From who I've talked to, actually climate change is like very accepted. Like the people who denied are kind of like outcasts, and you kind of give them strange looks. And as for that's good.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and as for vaccines, you can get the flu shot on campus. It's highly recommended. Like it's really.
They don't have people protesting the flu shot.
No. Yeah. So as far as I can tell, it's progressed.
What about conspiracies?
Yeah, there's those long-haired guys. You know who I'm talking about?
The Joshes.
The Joshes.
Yeah,
not the Alexes.
Josh.
What you should do is start 2 more clubs. One about conspiracies, one about anti-vaxxing. Get people to sign up to be anti-vax people.
Yeah, and see them.
And then you have all their information. And then you can denounce
right.
Yeah, but as far as I know, like it seems like better, like than what you're describing. But then again, like I don't know. If someone were to say that to me, I don't know if I would talk to them too much.
When my son first started going to Connaught School, I actually asked the teacher if there was a way to get information to know if there were kids that were not vaccinated at the school.
Right.
Because as a parent, I should be able to know if there's kids that might carry rubella or measles.
They pose a risk to your child.
Yeah, because my kid's vaccinated doesn't mean he can't get it.
Yeah, that's right. It's not 100% effective.
And they said they can't release that information. Right? I said, I'm not asking for names. I just want to know if there's unvaccinated kids in the school.
Right.
They say we can't tell you that because of the Privacy Act.
There most likely would.
Yeah, and that is yes, the conspiracy.
Well, even there's likely one immunosuppressed kid at that school, probably
at least.
So, but they've actually started to.
But he can't have fucking peanut butter.
Well, no, fuck no.
So it's okay for your kid to kill everybody else's kids, but it's not okay for my kid to eat a fucking peanut butter sandwich.
No, because somebody breathes and fucking dies because they don't have their EpiPen or the EpiPen's not working.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Especially without turmeric.
You know, I think millennials.
I just had to blame the millennials.
No.
God damn millennials.
No, I think there's a lot of negative context about.
Yeah.
You know, I'm technically a millennial too. It's just don't let the hair fool you. It's there's a lot of negative context of us, but you know, you have to. I think a lot of people have to understand. There's like we're young. There's a lot of stupidity there, of course, and there's a lot of time to grow.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I see it as.
Yeah.
Almost everything that people are blaming boomers for or millennials for is actually the fault of the boomers.
Yeah.
It's
like when they say participation trophy, all you care about, you get the participation trophy. You're like, I didn't make up the participation trophy. That was my parents.
Who did that, eh?
Yeah. And
why don't you try?
I fucking love.
I can't buy a fucking house.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah, the house. That okay. You know that's another topic. But
Okay, so there's room to grow. That's what we're leaving that topic.
Join us next time for millennials.
All right, we're gonna do the what the fuck, and then Rene can start.
What the fuck?
Fucking what the fucking fuck? Who the fuck? Fuck this fucking. How did you do fucking fucks? Fuck!
Certainly illustrates the diversity of the word.
Okay, I found this article on Vice, which I love.
Legit,
Vice.
super legit.
Vice is awesome. They find the weirdest shit. It's awesome. But what they did was they went to Bulgaria to check out a bride market. So
How was that?
What's that?
How was that?
Apparently interesting. I guess what it is that there's I'm not even going to try to say the name. There's a sub-clan of Roma people living in Bulgaria.
Okay.
So Roma or Gypsies.
We'll just call them the Joshes.
The Joshes.
Josh.
No, that's definitely the guys that are at the bride market.
The traveling Joshes.
Man, they were douchey. But at any rate, so what they do is they still have this this old tradition of kind of bride wealth, where it's dowry, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And what they've done now is they have this once a year where they get all the girls dolled up that are of marriage age, which is apparently from ages 13 up to 20, though the one girl they were talking to is 25, which they said was basically a spinster.
Yeah.
For this group.
In Elizabethan times, that was like 19.
And they take them to this bride market, and it's one of the rare times when they can mingle with the opposite sex. And if there's some sparks flying, that's when the parents then negotiate a price for their daughter to marry them.
Wow.
And it was one of those things where it sounds so backwards, but it was interesting was because when they're talking to the girls, they're participating, but they kind of don't want to, and they've figured out little ways or sort of ways around it, because they're not allowed to meet with boys outside the home. They're severely chaperoned because it's still pretty old school where girls have to be virginal and da 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 da.
Yeah.
But through Facebook, they were showing some of the guys that they were interested in to the reporter, and there's ways around it. And then when they were actually at the bride market, they were talking to some of the guys, and they're just like, do you like this? Do you like this bride market? And most of them are like, not really, but it's tradition. We kind of feel like we have to do it. Mm-hmm. So, and the other aspect of it, which is kind of weird, but it kind of makes sense, was that part of this is that for the most part, this Roma clan made their money off of their coppersmiths. That's actually what their clan name translates into.
Okay.
And because of...
Doesn't get more gypsy than that.
Yeah. And because of globalization, cheaper products from China, they're losing that. And so this is almost like a income
supplement.
Supplement, yeah.
Really?
And it was,
so what percentage does a house keep?
I have no idea. It's negotiated between parents.
Is it a growth market or?
Yeah. You're bringing economics into a medieval system.
Those are good questions. I'm sure Weiss wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
And so, and it was kind of an interesting look at, they were talking about how the girls had to look and what they had to present. Like they're all putting on pomade because, the parents of the boys they'd be looking for girls with very light skin and blue eyes, and they had to be well dressed and all this kind of stuff. It was just that it was kind of a weird thing to see a relatively like Bulgaria. It's still a modern European country, but still they have these pockets. Like the Romans are very repressed minority in Europe, but it was like 18,000 people at this thing. Like it was huge,
wow.
And they were all there with the phones and Facebook, and it was very modern, but yet they're doing this very old traditional thing. Like it was kind of it was interesting and yet kind of weird and backward.
Kind of a t-shirt stand there. Went to buy a wife, and all I got was this crummy t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you know what the legal age of consent is in Bulgaria?
No, they didn't go into that. Like they just said that the average ages that they were, try to marry the girls off is between 13 and 20 to 25.
I don't think they worry about consent.
Yeah. And the weird thing is,
I guess when you're talking about selling your daughters, it's not really
not a big deal.
It's kind of a weird thing. Was that they're selling them, but they're not.
But it's the daughters that are paying,
right?
If there's a bride price.
Yeah, they're haggling basically, and they're
nothing makes it sound good.
No, there's no way to spin it. But other than to say there is some change of the attitudes, because the family they were interviewing, the mother was she had no choice. It was to their father was just. Boom, her parents made a deal with his parents and done. That was done. And they said, eventually they grew to love each other and everything.
Like any traditional arranged marriage, but...
Yeah.
But the thing is, but these parents, were making sure that the girls, they were waiting until they made sure they made a good match.
Right.
So there was some change in the tradition, but they're still doing the tradition.
So, let's kind of bring it to our society here. Let's look at a wedding, for example.
Well, the thing is they do that. Have you ever heard of the surprise on TLC? A big fat gypsy wedding?
Yes.
Right.
Similar. It's a similar culture where it's, they get married super young, but they have these they spend these outrageous amounts of money on these gaudy, goofy dresses and weddings.
Cheesy.
Any wedding in general, if you think about it, you have high-tech devices there. Everything has a modern feel to it, but you ask yourself, why are you doing this? It's such an
pretty archaic.
But what I was thinking that when I was watching this video, it's we still have some of these goofy things. We talk about how terrible this is, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
And, the sanctity of marriage and stuff like that. But yet we also have fucking marriage game shows like The Bachelor.
I can't remember which comedian it was, but it was, marriage, it's the stupidest thing. It's, wow, I love you so much, I want to get the government involved.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Well, because they have to give you that legally
Take
binding.
it from the divorced guy. Marriage is stupid.
I'm married. And,
that money. I'm sorry.
Whatever.
No disagreement.
Whatever.
I mean, that's the thing.
In
is
hindsight, I probably shouldn't have gotten married. I should have just, stayed shacked up.
My wedding cost $800.
We're eloping.
That's basically what we do.
See, and that's just it. Is some people do that, and other people they're so set on that traditional wedding that they'll spend
I'm the one that gives them bank loans.
Yeah.
Maybe someday it would be interesting to spend some time talking about weddings and some of the weird dynamics that go on there.
Not even just weddings, but any of those kind of things.
Because the idea of the father giving away the bride and there's some...
The daughter saving herself for her father.
Yeah,
for her father? No, for her husband.
No. The father owns her virginity and then gives her permission to lose it to the husband.
Well, there's a lot of weird
dynamics that go on.
To have in some anthropology, there's a lot of weird shit you can take out of our modern marriage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's really weird shit.
The very creepy. Now the father-daughter dance is always accompanied by some weird country song that talks about the daughter as though she's in a relationship with her dad, and
yes.
That's just here. That's Saskatchewan.
I think that's Saskatchewan. Yeah.
The wedding I was at the beginning of the month was. I was listening to those things.
George Traub of the Geologic podcast down in the States. He did a parody of these songs because there's so many of these songs that are very. Right? It's something that doesn't just Saskatchewan, not only Saskatchewan people know.
All of this was what I was kind of going through my head as I was watching this, because as I was watching, going, okay, this is interesting, kind of fucked up, but interesting, and I could already hear people just going, "Oh my god, that's so fucking backward," and I'm like, it is, but it isn't.
Is it different than what we do?
Well, the reasoning for the maid of honor is to be there to guarantee the bride's honor.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's very you think about it. She's
legit. The hymen is
you think about what's the best.
The eagle has not landed.
The best man and the groomsmen are there so someone doesn't kidnap the bride.
Right.
you know, like, these are all really weird fucking holdover traditions that I don't think most people even realize, but they just know that they have to have a best man, they have to have 4 groomsmen, and you know, like,
some people just like to have parties and make shit out of paper. And, but even glitter.
And
do you know
Pinterest.
the history of engagement rings? They were originally given, like, if to kind of like show, what was it?
Is it ownership?
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm blanking on how it was worded.
The thing was, engagement rings haven't been around that long.
Yeah, it was like in the, like, I don't know, late 1800s and stuff like that.
No, I think it was later than that.
I don't remember.
And it was a diamond company that was suggested that you should use 10% of your annual salary. That was an ad campaign.
Yeah, do you guys watch Adam Ruins Everything?
Adam's Ruins, yeah. But you know, but that's just it. Is like we all like we can shit all over this tradition.
I love that diamond, the comedian about diamonds. Their ads have always been really good. Diamonds are forever. Yeah. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Now they've got to the point where they're getting a little more honest with their advertising. Diamonds, it'll take her breath away. Next, it's going to be diamond. That'll shut her up.
Diamond, it'll take you 6 months to pay for.
But that's just what I mean. Is like we shit all over this, but yet there are some women, and I've heard them say it, where they're talking about engagement ring, and no, it's got to be at least 3 months' salary.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
dumb.
All I said was I don't want fucking yellow gold, and,
right?
And I don't want a big ass rock.
But that's just what. That's what I mean. Is like we shit all over this because it's kind of weird. Yeah. But how many of our own cultural things are really fucking weird?
Mm-hmm. Starting to sound like a postmodernist.
Ah, shit.
Better start growing that hair back out.
No, it's gone. It's gone, man. It's gone.
I feel you.
It's gone.
All right,
I like the fact that I'm the oldest guy here and I've got the most hair.
Whatever, man.
What's your secret?
Don't wear hats.
I never wore
hats.
Yeah.
See, so that doesn't make any sense.
No. I got my mom's dad's genetics.
Your mom's dad's genetics?
Yeah, the guy he went bald at 60.
You got your mom and your dad's genetics.
My mom's has nice thick hair. No, I meant my mom's dad's, my grandpa's genetics. He went bald at 60. The only one in my family too, and I somehow got that.
Okay,
look.
I'm gonna. Any last thoughts?
No, it was just an
Don't
interesting
buy
article.
a 13-year-old bride, please.
Okay, yeah. Let's do some listener feedback first. Edwin messaged me about our interview with Matt Dillahunty, and he said, "Good work. I think you missed a couple of key points that you could have brought up in your debate. It wasn't so much a debate, but yeah." Matt said, I'll worry about neo-Nazis when they have real power. And he says they do. Like Trump is in the White House. This is a genuine concern.
Steve Bannon, man. Fuck you.
Well, he's out now.
No, he still has power.
Yeah, that's true.
Breitbart.
Yeah. And Edwin says he would have also pushed back a bit on what he feels was a dismissal of the sociological definition of racism, which Matt didn't really accurately give or represent and kind of just glossed over. And those are both fair. I kind of felt that there was some points where I disagreed with what Matt said, but I didn't. He kind of just kept going, and I just kind of wanted to listen to everything he was saying. And I mean, I still, as much as I decry the idea of heroes in the atheist movement, I still kind of hold Matt on a pedestal. And
he's a really nice guy, and he doesn't usually trip over his own ego.
No, so it's. I mean, there's a few things that I disagreed with him on. There's a few things that that Edwin disagreed with him on, and that's fine. It's just.
He's not God. He's not perfect.
He's a regular dude.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys are in the same community because he's an atheist and you're an atheist. You can have different views on other things.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
He's not infallible.
Nope, he is not infallible. We got Randy Lamonda said on Twitter that he loved the discussion, though. It was awesome. So
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks to Edwin and Randy for the feedback.
Yes.
Patreon, we have no new patrons. I want to give a shout out to our top patrons, Lisa, Positively Skeptical, and Rob Geiger. Thanks for being part of the Brainstorm Skeptical Club. You can get access to tons of extra content that nobody else gets, including exclusive content that apparently I'm the only one who tries to get out every month for $5 and up patrons. And what do you guys think of a patron hangout, like on Google's?
That might be fun.
The Googles?
Mm-hmm. On the Googles?
Yeah, we could do
like a Google group.
Why don't you do that as a bonus content?
Yeah, just a bonus, like have patrons come and chat with us.
Why don't we just open up bonus content for any from now on? Just have it sitting there open if they want to come on. You would have to know ahead of time, but
yeah,
sure.
No, if
I don't think Positively Skeptical will ever be here.
It's still your Patreon name, though.
I know, but I'm already here, so I can't be here as my Patreon if I'm already here.
Just set him up in another room. He has to run back and forth.
Well, but we could let all the patrons. We have a total of 12 patrons. I'm sure we could do a Google Hangout and just they could be in the chat room and we could talk to them if we could figure out a scheduling issue.
That would be cool.
So, iTunes reviews and Facebook reviews. We have no new ones. But I really need our listeners to do this. Chris from the Podunk Polymath podcast has 20 reviews, and we only have 8. We've been running for 3 years longer than he has. So let's get some reviews going. Something nice would be nice.
5 out of 5, guys.
5 out of 5 stars. That would be cool. And we're on a bit of a downswing for listeners, patrons, and feedback. So if you want to share the show, share it on Twitter, Facebook, write a review.
Just don't share it on your Patreon without asking us.
That's right.
Sorry, that was an argument Corey and I had a while ago.
Don't charge your patrons for our show. We're up to 919 likes on the Facebook page, though. And if we get to 1,000, I have 3 Brainstorm hand-embroidered ball caps that I can give away if people want them.
He's been wearing them for 3 years.
No.
Vintage Corey sweat.
They're tucked away.
Did you say hand-embroidered?
Hand-embroidered.
Like, did you do it?
No.
Because that would look like crap.
But a professional person did this. Embroiderer.
Oh, a professional embroiderer. Like a professional person. It could have been like a plumber.
Okay, we got to get through this fast.
Well, hurry up.
Who needs to plug stuff? Angela was possibly doing a thing.
I talked to Wendy Marsman of the Women Beyond Belief podcast, and she suggested we publish our conversation. And I said, okay, as long as we don't name names. So she cut all the
names?
The names out. So
we're not even gonna know who she was talking shit about.
It was Josh.
It was definitely Gumby.
It was definitely Gumby.
I thought that everything went well.
I have an interview with Peter Coffin that I just put out on my Hardcore Skeptic show.
Sweet.
And let's cue that outro music.
Did you say she's going to publish it?
Good night, everyone.
I think that's
Thanks for
everything.
listening.
You can check out the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net. Thanks to our financial supporters, Aaron, Daryl, Destin. Oh, no. Aaron, Daryl, Destin sucks. Lachlan, Lisa, Magnus. That's actually Alden. Michael, Nathan, Positively Skeptical, Rob, Stephanie, and Will. If you want to join their ranks and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. Join us live every
Alden's
second
Magnus?
week. No, Alden is Destin sucks.
Oh, okay. That's
yes.
Fuck you, Alden.
You can join us live every second week when we broadcast live on Spreaker. You can find us at Spreaker.com/user/brainstormpodcast. Next guest is Jonathan Ariola for the TDTF pod. Thanks, Deborah, for joining us. You can find out more about her podcast at Spreaker.com/show/beyond-the-trailer-park-AOA or by Googling Beyond the Trailer Park Podcast. I'll put a link to her YouTube as well in the show notes. Oh, thank you, Idella, for coming on the show.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll add the email to the SSA at the U of R in our show notes. Thanks to Dave for our intro music. Thanks to Alex Kepper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for the intro and some of our ads. Thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff at loststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music's license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Live listeners, you can go to the after show at mixler.com/the-brainstorm-podcast and listen to the bonus content before it goes to Patreon only. Sometimes the after show is the best content we do.
Sometimes.
So if you want to listen to it without having to be a patron, then stay tuned or go over to mixler.com, and check it out. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Corey, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interactions with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.
It's still not Rage Against the Machine.
It isn't, but it's got its own style.
Yeah.
I love it.